You're listening to Pit Pass USA with Larry Henry. To leave comments or suggest future guests for the show, email us at larryhenry@pitpassusa.com. That's Larry Henry at pitpassusa.com. Now back to more of the fastest show in motorsports, Pit Pass USA with Larry Henry.
Well, it seems drivers all across America are getting younger and younger, and I've got another one of those up-and-coming drivers. It's right now primarily on the West Coast, but wants to branch course on up into the bigger divisions of NASCAR. Just tried to qualify for his first K&N West race. Unfortunately, didn't quite make it in, but he's got plenty of more racing ahead of him. Only just turned 15 not many days ago, and that's Andrew Murray. Andrew, welcome, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
You know, you are a very young driver. We see young drivers, it seems like, everywhere in racing these days. You're one of those that started at a very early age, I think around the age of 5?
Yeah, that's correct. I started at 5 years old, started in go-karts. Ran go-karts for 7 years. Ran the USAC sprint cars for 3 years, and then this is my first year in NASCAR.
What's it been like for you, and why did you get involved in auto racing at such an early age? Does it run in the family?
Really, I mean, I just always loved racing ever since I was a little kid. My dad, he did a little bit of the Top Fuel dragsters, but I mean, really, it's just kind of a new thing for our family.
There's a lot of young people that I see. First time in Parker Kligerman, who I've gotten to know the last few years, really know racing in his family. He's had some opportunities to run in NASCAR, and it just kind of falls into that, and kind of the same path you did with karts and then moving on up. What's it been like now moving up into the stock cars? I know you've done a lot of the late model racing, and as I mentioned, you tried to qualify. In fact, you did qualify kind of for your first K&N West Series race just a few days ago. But unfortunately, NASCAR has, well, if you're a certain point in the points, you get into the race, and that knocked you out.
Yeah. But, like, all this year I've been running the NASCAR late models, and I've been doing really good in those. My last race, I finished 3rd. But the K&N race, like, in practice, I was in the top 10 for the second practice the entire time, even with most of all the other teams going out on sticker tires in practice just to see what the car would handle like. And I never really got much of a feel for those sticker tires because I only got one practice set in on those. So that was one of the things that just didn't quite work out right. But we learned a lot on the weekends, and I'm going to take that knowledge to the next race I go to.
How tough was it, though? And you go there, you're practicing well, you go to qualify. It wasn't the best qualifying run, but you thought you were going to be in the field, but unfortunately the rules, as I mentioned, knocked you out. I mean, how tough of a day was that for you?
That was pretty tough. It was a real mindset. But I just got to keep pushing forward and go as hard as I can and just keep moving on.
Well, obviously, you've had so much success through the years already. You mentioned USAC winning there. I think you ran the 360 sprints. You've been in the late model division. You talked about your finishes there. You've got your K&N West first event under your belt, at least showing up, practicing, being around the other drivers in the series, learning the ins and outs. And I'm sure that's one of the big things, too, as a young driver who just turned 15, is actually learning the ins and outs of each series as you go along, because while racing is similar, there's always some little quirk or little thing that you've got to find out about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the track that we did race at in the K&N Pro Series, the Roseville track, I raced there once before in the late model, and it felt like a completely different track when I was in the K&N car. I mean, the driving style was different, the driving line was different, just everything was different. It was basically a new track. So it just goes to show you how much can change.
How do you find out about those things? And do you have someone you're going to say, hey, can you help me? Can you tell me something about the track or the setup? Is there a mentor that you have?
Well, I have my crew chief. Him and I, we talk back to back, and we get the car setup part of that because he's raced at all these tracks before and stuff, and he can get a good idea of what car setup to get. And then also I talk with like my teammates or other drivers that are driving here, and I just ask them for any tips. And they're all really great guys, and they help me out. And then I just use those tips, and then I see where the boundaries are and push it to the limit.
So with Andrew Murray here on Pit Pass USA, just turned 15, racer to keep an eye on out on the West Coast, who's been working his way up, and just now joining the K&N West Series because, well, he had to wait till he got to 15. There's certain age limits and requirements that are done, and just turned that a few days ago. And Andrew, what is the game plan here? I know you want to move on up into the big ranks of NASCAR. Where do you see that happening? I'm seeing more and more drivers. Of course, 18 is kind of the magic age, so that would be, what, about 3 years from now?
Yeah. I really want to get up into the Sprint Cup Series. It's always been a dream of mine, really, since I was, let's say, about 9 years old. And I just got to keep pushing, keep going as hard as I can, make the right calls, learn from all my mistakes, and really just be in the right place at the right time. And I'm sure you know how critical that is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely so. And it is being in the right place at the right time. Sometimes it doesn't even matter how much talent you have or how you've been doing. It's just being in that right place at the right time to get an opportunity. I look at Brad Keselowski, who I've known his family for a long time, and he got an opportunity in a truck race that came out of nowhere, even though he'd been running the family truck at the right place, right time, got him with Dale Jr., and look where he's at now. I mean, it really comes down to that, getting that right break, right time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's insane how much it makes a difference.
Well, one of the other things that you're involved in is a program at Don't Text and Drive. I know you've been talking at schools all over the place about that. It's part of, I believe, the Mercury Insurance program. Talk about that a little bit and what you're doing.
Oh, well, Mercury Insurance and we recently partnered up for this campaign, Don't Text and Drive. And one of the reasons why we do have this campaign is because thousands of teens each year alone die because of this problem. And even because of that, 86% of California teens alone admit to texting while driving. And we really want to try and limit that number. And one of the ways that we also have that possible is that everyone that's listening out there, you guys can go to mercuryinsurance.com and sign the pledge to not text and drive, and together we can make a difference. We can limit the number of casualties.
What's been the response when you've gone and given talks to other teenagers?
Really, I mean, a great number of them, I'd say about 95% of them, really get the memo that I'm trying to say, and they're like, wow, I never thought about that. And it just kind of really shocks them, because I tell them 350,000 teens this year alone are going to be involved in an accident because of this. And that's a lot of teenagers. That's 1 in 30 teenagers, actually, in the world. So it's a big number.
And do they respond because, I mean, you're 15, so you don't have a driver's license yet, but yet you're able to go out on a racetrack and run in excess of 100 miles an hour. Does that help the message to them because of what you're doing on a racetrack?
I believe so. Because, I mean, I am going at over 100 miles an hour almost every single weekend. And because of that, I feel that I have a better sense of just what little distraction you can have on the road. And I feel that the other teenagers that I'm talking to know that I kind of have a feeling of how much distraction you can have on the road, which is very close to none.
Yeah, I was told one time that if a race car driver was going 200 miles an hour in just the natural blinking of an eye, how much racetrack they actually don't see it. It's a frightening number. And to be looking down and texting is even worse.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Texting and driving, when you're just traveling at 45 miles an hour, which is just an average road speed, you actually travel over 2/3 of a football field when you're just looking at a text message.
Wow.
and that's a long way.
Yeah, that is a long way, and anything can happen in that amount of space and time. Well, I've got to say, Andrew, you've got it all together, not only on the track but off the track with this program you're involved with Mercury Insurance. It looks like you're on track to make your dreams come true of getting to the upper ranks of NASCAR on down the road when you turn 18, and you've taken all the right steps. Want to wish you the best of luck with the racing and also with the program as you continue to preach a good message to teens all across America.
Thank you.
And that's a young man who just turned 15 just a few days ago, racing on the